Hello everyone and welcome to Acrylic Code. Today I'll show you how I did this easy animation on TouchDesigner. I will first give a short overview and then we'll do the animation from scratch. So here I created a spherical shape and added a twist and some noise to it. And later I used the data from here to create a box, and basically the whole shape is made out of many tiny little boxes. Next, I added a ramp here and passed it to chops, then stretched here so we have the same length as this null, and we use this to constantly be changing the colors of the boxes. Next, I created here a grid, which is going to be the floor, and a cone light to give you the impression that the shape is floating. So we can see here, for example, in the geometry viewer that I have the light pointing in the geometry. Here we have another light to intensify the effect. Over here we have a render, and at the end connected to a transform and to the out. Here we have another render where we isolate the geometry. Over here we can play around with different effects, like for example we have here a feedback, and basically we can delete that and replace it with any of these other image filters over here. So let us start from the beginning. I opened a new project and already split the window and activated the top viewer. Next, press tab to open the window, and let's create an out and turn the display on. Create a box and a geometry. Let's copy paste this and delete the box. And next, create a grid, connect it to the geometry and set the size to 10 by 10 and the center to 1. Let's move this up here and press tab, and while holding shift create a camera and some lights at the same time. Next, let's create a render top and connect it to the out. Now here we have a huge box, so let's go to the box and change all the size parameters to 0.01. Go to the grid and put the orientation to ZX. And there you have it. Now we have a tiny box and we can see the plane in the bottom. Now let's go ahead and create some instancing data. Press tab, and while holding shift let's create a sphere, a noise, a twist and a null. And let's go to the geometry 1, turn the instancing on and drag and drop the null to the translate operator. Put P0 to translate X, P1 to translate Y and P2 to translate Z. Let's go to the sphere and set the parameters to 0.2, 0.5 and also 0.5. Let's go back here and create a constant chop. I will rename this to res for the resolution and set it to the highest. Put it viewer active and hover it on top of the sphere until the window opens. Go to detail and drop it on the rows. I will copy the expression here and paste it also in the comments as well. Let's go back here to the sphere and change the center so the sphere is a little higher. Also, let's reduce the amplitude of the noise. Maybe go back to the sphere and put it a little lower after all. Now let's go to the twist, set the y-axis as primary axis and set the strength to 360. Great, now we have all we need. Let's make the render look pretty. First, let's go to the lights and drag the geometry to the look at, and let's set the translate Y to 10. To change the shape, let's go here to light and set the shape to cone light, and also change the angle and delta until it sits right. Click on shadow next and set the type to hard and 2D mapped. This causes the lights to appear more natural and our shape to appear more 3D and dynamic. Now let's introduce some colors. Let us create a ramp top and drag the resolution and drop it here to the ramp resolution and select chop reference. Click here, copy the expression and paste it down here in the resolution height as well. Great, now we have a ramp with the same resolution. Let's change the colors to a little bit more blue. Afterwards, we're converting this to a chop, so let's create a top to. And in here we go to crop and set the crop to full image. Now we have a bunch of channels and we need to shuffle them, and we select here the method of merging by name. Here we have to stretch. To understand why, let's create an info chop here. Let's drag and drop the null here, and we see that the number of points is a little over 20,000. Let's copy paste the info box to check the length down here, which as we see is 22,500. That's not the same, so let's go ahead and create a stretch operator. Let's go here to length scale and type the Python expression op null1 to reference the null1 operator, and then add the attribute num of points, and we're going to divide all this by the number of points in the shuffle. So shuffle1 dot num samples, because in chops there are samples and in tops there are points. I guess I misspelled something, so the second division here is too much. So let's delete that, and there we go. Now if you go back and drag this shuffle again into the info box, now we can see that the length is exactly as in the other one. Now that that's fixed, let us delete the info boxes because we don't need them anymore. Let's create here a null, go back to the geo, to the instancing, and in the color operator we drag and drop this null. Let's write down R, G, B and A in the parameters of the colors. Great, so now we have our dancing colorful shape. Let's do some composites. The way I like to do this is by creating a transform right here before the out, and turn on back over background and set the alpha parameter to 1. Let's go ahead and put on another light, and let's move it around until it looks pleasant to you. I mean, there's no rule to this. Let's also put the dimmer to 0.7. To make the shape a little more glowing, let's create another render, but this time we're only going to render this geometry. So drag and drop it, select parameter geometry, and let's create also an edge. So what we're rendering is only the edge of the shape instead of the whole shape. Then let's go to the palette, search for image filter, and drag and drop the bloom, and connect the render to both inputs of the bloom. So we see right here an intensification of the colors. Now let us composite them and choose the operation over to achieve the glowing effect that we wanted. Let's create here another composite and connect it to the one down here, and also set the operation as over. And now for some fine tuning, we can play around with the strength and black level value in the edge, and also with the other parameters of the bloom. So there we have it. This was it for this tutorial. I hope you find some inspiration to try your own version of this at home and have some fun with it. Please subscribe to the channel, and if there are any questions or video suggestions, please let us know in the comments. Have a good day and see you on the next video. Bye!